जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवर धारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। जमुना तीरा बनचारी। जमुना तीरा बनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरवर धारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। जमुना तीरा बनचारी। जमुना तीरा बनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। श्री राधा कलाचंद जी की जय। जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। श्री राधा गोविंद जी की। श्री गौर निताय की। श्री मध्वाचार्य की। शीला प्रभुपाद की। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सागना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता श्रीराधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ स्वामीति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। Hare Krishna everyone. So today we are going to discuss about the atrocity of King Kansa, chapter 4, Canto 10, verse number 10 to 20, 14 to 24. It's okay. So today first I'll be reading verse 20 and then we will read all the translation. Thank you. Please repeat after me. Yeah. यथा नेवं विदो भेदो यत् आत्मा विपर्ययः देह योग वियोगो च सा संस्कृतिं निवर्तते। यथा नेवं विदो भेदो यत् आत्मा विपर्ययः Deha yoga viyogo cha samsratirna nivartate. Anybody would like to repeat? Yatha nevam vido bhedo yat atma viparyayah deha yoga vigyoga cha samsratirna nivartate. Yatha nevam vido bhedo yat atma viparyaya deha yoga viyoga cha samsratirna nivartate. Yatha nevam vido bhedo yat atma viparyayah deha yoga viyoga cha sartena nivartate. Word to word. Yatha as and evam vidha of a person who has no knowledge about Atma Tattva and steadiness of Atma in his own identity despite the changes of the body. Bhedaha, the idea of difference between body and the self. Yataha, because of which. Atma viparyaya, the foolish understanding that one is the body. Deha yoga viyoga ucha, and this causes connections and separation among different bodies. Samsritaha, the continuation of conditions life. Na, not. Nivartate, does stop. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. One who does not understand the constitutional position of body and the soul become too attached to bodily concept of life. Consequently, because of attachment to the body and its byproduct, he feels affected by union with and separation from his family, society and nation. As long as this continues, one continues his material life. Otherwise, one is liberated. Purport. As confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Sabai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaja ahetu ki apratihata yayatmasu prasidati. The word dharma means engagement. One who is engaged in service of Lord, yato bhakti adhokshaja, without impediment and without cessation, is understood to be situated in his original spiritual status. When one is promoted to this status, one is always happy in transcendental bliss. Otherwise, as long as one is in bodily conception of life, one must suffer material conditions. Janma mrityu jara vyadi dukha doshanu darshanam. The body is subject to its own principle of birth, death, old age and disease. But one who is situated in spiritual life, yato bhakti adhokshaja, has no birth, no old age and disease. One may argue that one may see a person who is spiritually engaged 24 hours a day, but is still suffering from disease. In fact, however, he is neither suffering nor diseased. Otherwise, he could not be engaged 24 hours a day in spiritual activities. The example may be given in this connection that sometime dirty foam or garbage is seen floating on the water of Ganga. This is called Neer Dharma, a function of the water. But one who goes to Ganga does not mind the foam and dirty thing floating in the water. With his hand, he pushes away such nasty thing and bathes in Ganga and gain the beneficial result. So this is like emphasized in Nectar of Devotion, especially that if any devotee is suffering from a disease, bodily disease, we should not look at those things. We should avoid, we should overlook those things, because these bodily conception of life does not hamper their devotional life. They are pure devotee. So they are 24/7 engaged in devotional service, regardless whatever is happening to their body. So likewise, if we are going to bathe in Yamuna, Ganga or any holy river, if we see such impurity because they have taken that sin from Indra. Indra gave his part of sin to them. So it is their dharma to have those faint bubbles. So we should avoid those impurity and we should take bath and purify our existence. Therefore, one who is situated in spiritual status of life is unaffected by foam and garbage or any superficial dirty things. This is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Iha yasya haredasya karmana manasa gira nikhileva api avastheshu itvam mukta sa uchyate. A person acting in the service of Krishna with his body, mind and word is liberated person, even within the material world. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Therefore, one is forbidden to regard Guru as ordinary human being. The spiritual master or acharya is always situated in spiritual status of life. Birth, death, old age, disease does not affect him. According to Hari Bhakti Vilas, therefore, after the disappearance of an acharya, his body is never burned to ashes. They are given samadhi. For it is a spiritual body. The spiritual body is always unaffected by material conditions. Now we can start reading verse number 14, translation. Okay.
After hearing the words of goddess Durga, Kamsa was struck with wonder. Thus he approached his sister Devaki and brother-in-law Vasudev, released them immediately from their shackles, and very humbly spoke as follows.
Alas, my sister, alas, my brother-in-law, I am indeed so sinful that exactly like a man-eater Rakshasa who eats his own child, have killed so many sons born of you.
Actually, there was a reason for this transformation in Kansa, that these Rakshasa, they are a devotee of Durga. And when he saw Durga appeared from the womb of Devaki, he got that awe and reverence towards her. That how come this ordinary woman can begot Durga? So that means she is not ordinary. So all of a sudden his mood got changed, because he could not understand that what was the internal reason, what was happening within those moments, what happened to the boy. He didn't know about that. He was not aware. Just he saw Durga, 8-handed form of Durga. And he got surprised. How come Durga has appeared and what sin I have committed? Now he is apologizing Devaki.
Being merciless and cruel, I have forsaken all my relatives and friends. Therefore, like a person who has killed a Brahmana, I do not know to which planet I shall go, either after death or while breathing.
Yeah, because he is repenting. He did not like this idea of, he loved his sister a lot. And he loved to an extent that he was ready to take her on the chariot, becoming his chariot driver, which is very menial service for a king if he is going to do, because he has to put his hand under the feet of whoever is climbing on the chariot. So up to that extent he had love for Devaki. And now he has killed her 6th son already. And 7th son got miscarried, and 8th is Durga Devi had appeared. So he was like cursing himself that where I am going to go. I have no destiny, neither in this life nor after death, where I am going to go. Yes, next.
Alas, not only human beings, but sometimes even providence lies. And I'm so sinful that I believed that omen of providence and killed so many of my sister's children.
Yeah, that's what it happened. When he was going, there was a prophecy, and he believed it because there was no cause that he should not believe, because Devata would not lie. There was no reason about that. Now he's saying that they can also lie.
O
Yes.
great souls, your children have suffered their own misfortune. Therefore, please do not lament for them. All living entities are under the control of the Supreme, and they cannot always live together.
Now, after surprise, he is trying to pacify his sister. You can believe, like, if brother and sister are doing something, they are fighting, and brother has accidentally hit sister, and she started crying. He's lamenting, but after that, how he carries sister? He just hug her and go to her. I did not mean that. Things happened accidentally. So now he is trying to pacify her. That things did not go. I did not do it intentionally. It was like the philosophy came, like it happened because of karma, this and that. He's trying to caress her. That whatever happened, please pacify. Can we read purport a little bit? Yeah.
Kamsa addressed his sister and brother-in-law as Mahabhago because although he killed their ordinary children, the goddess Durga took birth from them. Because Devaki bore Durga Devi in her womb, Kamsa praised both Devaki and her husband. Asuras are very devoted to the goddess Durga, Kali, and so forth. Kamsa, therefore, truly astonished, appreciated the exalted position of his sister and brother-in-law. Durga is certainly not under the laws of nature because she herself is the controller of the laws
Because
of
she's a
nature.
jailer of this material world. She is like controlling all three modes of nature. And we are working under her jurisdiction. She is, she has shackled us within those material modes of nature, not like goodness is here, passion is here, ignorance is here. It's like combination, different permutation and combination. Like goodness, little bit goodness, more ignorance, little bit more passion, different ratio of ignorance, passion. So it's like a jal, it's like a web, which is very difficult to come out. And we really need someone to cut that shackle. And that person should be very powerful. It's very difficult to come out of this Maya Devi. Okay, next. Thank you, Jashnav. Translation 19. Shri Radha Kalachand Ji ki jai.
In this world, we can see that pots, dolls, and other products of the earth appear, break, and then disappear, mixing with the earth. Similarly, the bodies of all conditioned living entities are annihilated, but the living entities, like the earth itself, are unchanging and never annihilated. Nahanyate hanyamane sarire.
Could you please read the purport as well, Prabhuji?
Although Kamsa is described as a demon, he had good knowledge of the affairs of Atmatattva, the truth of the self. 5,000 years ago, there were kings like Kamsa who is described as an asura, but he was better than modern politicians and diplomats who have no knowledge about Atmatattva. As stated in the Vedas, Asanga yam purusha, the spirit soul has no connection with the changes of the material body. The body undergoes 6 changes: birth, growth, sustenance, byproducts, dwindling, and then annihilation. But the soul undergoes no such changes. Even after the annihilation of a particular body form, the original source of the bodily elements does not change. The living entity enjoys the material body, which appears and disappears, but the 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, remain the same. Example given here is that pots and dolls are produced from the earth, and when broken or destroyed, they mingle with their original ingredients. In any case, the source of supply remains the same. As already discussed, the body is made according to the desires of the soul. The soul desires, and thus the body is formed. Krishna therefore says in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara sarvabhutanam videshe Arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarvabhutani yancha rudhani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. Neither the Supersoul Paramatma nor the individual soul changes its original spiritual identity. The Atma does not undergo birth, death, or changes like the body. Therefore, a Vedic aphorism says, Asanga iyayam purusha, although the soul is conditioned within this material world, he has no connections with the changes of the material body.
So we are seeing these verses are telling us something about Bhagavad Gita, what we have read in first 2 chapters, about body, soul, attachment, temporariness of the body. So why Prabhupada discuss all these things in here? Why did he give this philosophy here? Actually, we should understand that this 10th canto, we were waiting for this 10th canto. And we read, we passed first 9 cantos. First canto, second canto, third canto. It took us so many years. And now again, we are so desperate to know about Leela Katha, pastime of Lord Krishna, what happened to him in Nandgaon, what happened to him in Vrindavan, what happened during Rasa Leela, how he played, how he danced. But we are again reading about this philosophy. So this philosophy is so important that it is said, Prabhupada said, if we directly jump on this Rasa Leela or all the pastime of Krishna, so it will be difficult to handle. Because sometime our tendency is to go deep into Katha and Leela without imbibing the mood of philosophy. Because philosophy always protects us. We have to keep reminding ourselves we are not the body, we are the soul. Because we keep forgetting. What is our relationship with Krishna? What is our relationship with devotees? How we should be? What is our constitutional position? So if we directly jump into Leela and Katha, it could be like poison for us. So that is the reason Srila Prabhupada, when he came with canto first. And after that, he did not start writing his canto second, third, and fourth. He started writing Bhagavad Gita because he wanted to give the philosophy. Because if we see our life, philosophy always saves us. If we are in some dangerous position, spiritually or materially, it always encourages us. It always saves us. It always gives us the path. So Srila Prabhupada first made the philosophical point of view in Bhagavad Gita. Then he created canto second to canto 9. And it's not only Katha with philosophy, stories with philosophy. he made sure that philosophy should be given in each of his purport, in each of his canto. Very nicely, he asked his disciple to distribute his cantos. So they said, Prabhupada, how would they understand? How would they take it? So he said, I have wrote those purport in such a way that they would get the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. We are not the body, we are the soul. Because he wanted to make sure that person should understand. Even at this point, after so many years of practicing, I could not understand that I am the body, I am the soul. I am not the body, I am the soul. I am still working on bodily platform. Because these modes are very gross. It's very difficult to overcome. So this philosophy make us realize. It reminds us. So Prabhupada gave us these 9 canto, and after that, he did not start canto 10. He started Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Adi Leela. It is said if you read Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Adi Leela first part, you will be well versed in philosophy. Very philosophical. Then Adi Leela, Madhya Leela, Ant Leela, Nectar of Devotion, and after that, Isha Upanishad, and after that he started Canto 10. And in Canto 10 also, before starting any, pastimes and all, he gave so much philosophy. Because he wanted to make sure that we are philosophically protected. We should not become emotional. Because even after reading those pastimes, we feel miserable in our life. So this philosophy protects us. We don't feel purified. So these philosophy keep reminding us. Even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he went to, because this is very important, that why Shukdev Goswami spoke this philosophy? Why Vyasadev wrote this philosophy, all of a sudden in 10th canto? When Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur went to Vrindavan with his disciple, they were all willing to hear about the pastime. They were very excited. But what did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati do? Anybody can tell? For 1 month. He spoke on the philosophy of first canto of 1 verse for 1 month. He was hammering his disciple. Why? Because he wanted to tell philosophy always keeps us on the right track. And I also felt in my life. Although I love pastime and all, because if I don't hear this philosophy, I feel myself losing the track. It keeps us revising that how we should not be envious of others. It keeps us telling how should we behave, how should we connected with each other. So we are on the safe track. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How did he react in front of Prakashanand Saraswati? What did he tell? Prakashanand Saraswati, he was a Mayavadi sannyasi. He was a Mayavadi leader. What did he tell him? Miss, if you are standing in front of a president of a organization and you are telling yourself a fool, it's such a big thing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that I am a fool. My Guru Maharaj thought of me as a fool, so he gave me Harinam because I don't know anything. So I'm just chanting, and by that effect of chanting, I got love of Godhead. How about that? So that means Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proved that all sort of these academic knowledge, it's not going to make us perfect in Bhagavatam, in our devotional life. Humility in devotional service. Humility means humbleness. Like we are nothing. Not in terms of we cannot do anything. In terms of by the humble mode, if we are approaching Lord, our Guru, then we can be successful in this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srila Prabhupada, he was Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Bhakti Vedanta means the end of knowledge. Everything is like culminate. But on top of that, he was Bhakti Vedanta. He had bhakti. Some of his god brother and some of his early disciples, they were very erudite scholar. They knew many things more than him in academics. When they came under him, they study very scrutinizingly. When you are a scholar, you want to understand everything. You want to prove yourself, like you know more. So they approached him, but not humbly. They understood Prabhupada does not know more than us. We know more than Prabhupada. So they left him. And what did they do? They became professor in university. That is what our goal is by becoming a scholar. So please forgive me, these are not my words. I'm just repeating whatever I have heard. So this is not what I am saying, I'm just repeating. So, so this is not our goal of becoming a professor in a university. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was he? He was Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew everything. He was God. And after that, he accepted himself in front of who? Mayavadi sannyasi. He could have said, oh, you are doing this wrong. He could have crushed him. But he accepted that I am a fool. My Guru Maharaj considered me as a fool. So he gave me Harinam Diksha. And now I achieve love of Godhead. That is what is required. Humility. Humbleness. So if we see all these purport and translation, we see, if we remove the name of Kansa, that Kansa is speaking to Devaki. Would you be able to relate that Kansa is speaking? Just for a minute, forget that Kansa is speaking. We are reading this chapter, Atrocity of King Kamsa. Just read the translation. Can one person read translation 20, 21 and 22?
Text 20. Do not understand the constitutional position of the body and the soul, Atma, becomes too attached to the bodily concept of life. Consequently, because of attachment to the body and its byproducts, he feels affected by union with and separation from his family, society, and nation. As long as this continues, one continues his material life. Otherwise, one is liberated.
Translation 21. You can continue.
21. My dear sister Devaki, all good fortune unto you. Everyone suffers and enjoys the results of his own work under the control of providence. Therefore, although your sons have unfortunately been killed by me, please do not lament for them.
22.
In the bodily conception of life, one remains in darkness without self-realization, thinking, I am being killed or I have killed my enemies. As long as a foolish person thus considers the self to be the killer or the killed, he continues to be responsible for material obligations and consequently he suffers the reactions of happiness and distress.
Okay. So now we read these translation. If we consider ourselves like in a space where we don't know that this is spoken by Kamsa. If I am saying that this is spoken by Ramanujacharya, would you be able to accept this philosophy? If I am saying this is spoken by Madhvacharya, would you be able to believe? If I am taking the name of some great scholar from the past, we would be able to believe. Because this is very philosophical and it is not saying he is saying something wrong. He's saying very correctly. His philosophy is correct. But what is wrong with it? Can anybody tell what is wrong with it?
Is it that he's applying the philosophy to pacify his sister, but he's not applying it in his own life? He didn't follow the philosophy and not kill, but he followed. I mean, now that she is in distress, he's trying to pacify her with the philosophy. So he's not acharya in the sense, he's not practicing what he's preaching.
But I'm also sitting on Vyasasana, I'm not practicing what I'm saying. So I feel like I'm also equal to Kansa. What exclusively we can tell about that he is not blessed with that philosophy. His philosophy is not effective.
By the way, I don't agree that you're not practicing. Well, he's not associating with devotees, he's associating with his demonic friends, whereas those who are reading philosophy also make sure that they are associating and with like-minded and more advanced devotees who give him feedback.
Yeah. So the thing is, what you said is correct. So the main point is, his philosophy is not connected with humble devotional service. Because he is not the devotee of Lord. He is not practicing devotional service. That is why his philosophy, although he is talking like a erudite scholar, very scholarly he is talking, but that is compared to a jewel on the hood of a snake. We can be attracted by these flowery language, by their words, but what is inside? Venom. He's like venomous snake. He does not have that good quality in his heart. The connection with the devotees, connection with the Lord. That is why if we are seeing those philosophy, we should better avoid it. If that person is not well connected with Krishna. We are connected with parampara. We are struggling in our devotional service. But it's not like we are like Kamsa. Because we are trying to serve Srila Prabhupada. We are trying to serve our Guru in parampara. Through this philosophy, we are trying to correct ourselves. Every moment we are trying to bring us on this track. Although we are not able to fully surrender, we are not fully aware. We are not the body, we are the soul. But still we are trying. Kansa is not trying. He's just saying. So we can see in 7th canto as well that Hiranyakashipu. When I came into Krishna consciousness, when I heard all these things, I was so bewildered. Like, how come this Hiranyakashipu, after Hiranyaksha was being killed by Lord Varahadev, he was pacifying his wife, his household, that this is not the body, this is a soul. Means all these philosophical argument. These demons, they are very better than today's politician, because we can also see. We know politicians, what they speak, what they practice, how they shout in front of a screen, how they fight like cats and dogs. These demons are not like that. They were well versed, but they were away from Lord. Their face, their personality was not connected with Krishna. That is the reason they were not effective. But today, they are even worse than demonic person. I'm not talking about all the politicians. There are few politicians. They could be nice. They are working very nicely. But Prabhupada has compared them with modern politicians. So all these demons, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, they knew the philosophy. But they were not able to apply it because they were having that aversion. And also, so this is the philosophical background. Why do we need philosophy? We keep needing philosophy. We need that hammering on our head every now and then. That is there. But what is this all about? Maybe we can quickly finish our leftover verses. Translation 23 and 24. Can one person, Shri Radha Kalachan Ji ki jai.
Kamsa begged, "My dear sister and brother-in-law, please be merciful to such a poor-hearted person as me. Since both of you are saintly persons, please excuse my atrocities." Having said this, Kamsa fell at the feet of Vasudev and Devaki, his eyes full of tears of regret. Text 24. Fully believing in the words of the goddess Durga, Kamsa exhibited his familial affection for Devaki and Vasudev by immediately releasing them from their iron shackles.
Thank you, Mataji. So we have seen that Kamsa gave some philosophy and he released them, both of them, by begging forgiveness. But I really wanted to mention one pastime related to verse number 20, that the one who does not understand the constitutional position of the body and the soul become too attached to the bodily concept of life. And this is true, that we all are attached. I'm talking about myself. I'm too much attached. Consequently, because of attachment to the body and its byproduct, means our family relationship, he feels affected by union with and separation, that they are going away, we are feeling sad, and they are coming, we are feeling very happy. As long as this continue his material life. And actually this is the cause of material life, that we get too much attached. But we can transform this attachment. My Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, told in one of his lecture in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, I heard long time back, maybe 2-3 years back, I remember now, that he mentioned that our attachment to a devotee is not materialistic attachment. So we could be attached, because we cannot stay without attachment, without love. That attachment could be transformed into the attachment with the devotees by doing their menial services, by serving them, by having nice relationship with them, by having loving exchange with them. So we can still have that love and attachment, but we are detached. Why? Because these are not material attachment. If we think that we are attached to this devotee, that we are attached. No. These are not material attachment. These are spiritual attachment. It is required. But regarding material attachment, there is very nice story I was reading in Mahabharat, when Yudhishthira Maharaj went to Bhishma Dev and he asked some question. So he was telling, Bhishma Dev was telling that once a woman's son, he was dead because of a snake bite. Then a hunter came and he wanted to kill that snake. That woman was so self-realized, so intelligent. He said, "What is the mistake of this snake? You should not kill the snake. That is by the law of karma that my son was being killed." But he was not convinced. Then he said, "I'm going to kill him." She said, "Okay, whatever you want to do." So he went to snake. The snake said, "I did it on the order of Mrityu." Maybe Kal or Mrityu, whoever comes first. So he said, "Okay, I'm going to kill both of you, the snake and Kal." So Kal said, "I did it because his karma, his time was coming. That is why I encouraged this snake to kill him." So he said, because Mrityu decided that his time has come, so he should be killed. Then he said, okay, I will kill Mrityu. So Mrityu said, don't kill both of them. Don't kill anybody. Because his karma was like that. He needed to be killed at this moment. That is the reason I encouraged this Kal. And he encouraged this snake to kill this son of this lady. So he said, these are the law of karma, just because of under which everyone is working. So that hunter was convinced. Even woman was agreed. And Yudhishthira Maharaj could understand. Said, this is the law of karma by which everything is happening. And these law of karma binds us because of our attachment. If we are able to act like that woman, then we are saved. Otherwise, we will start taking revenge, action, reaction. So it will go on and on and on. So these Shastra Chakshu, the eyes from the scripture, will help us to understand these stories, the small stories. These are going to help us to understand that how we can avoid this further chain of the cycle of karma. So with this, I would like to end my class. If you have any comment, question, please.
Hare Krishna Mataji, that was a very nice class. And I really liked how you put this point of why Prabhupada has brought in the concept of, philosophy and all its purports, even in 10th canto, which is full of pastimes. But it constantly reminds us that without philosophy, we cannot really practice devotional life. So that's like, it empowers our intelligence. So I really like that point. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the very nice class. I appreciated the point of how these, asuras, demons, how actually they understand the philosophy quite well. They're not practically applying it, but it's even, I think it was even said about Ravana that he was like the most expert chanter of Sanskrit slokas.
Yeah,
like
he was a pandit.
Yeah. And that when Hanuman went to Lanka to find Sita, he saw Ravana and he couldn't tell he was a demon, except I think he was snoring or something like that. Otherwise, he looked like a devotee. And but the difference is that Krishna's not there for them, right? They're not trying to serve Krishna. They don't have any conception of that. They're trying to become the Supreme Lord themselves. That's very, very nice point. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. I have a question on what you were saying. I like this point where you said, Prabhupada is mentioning this again and again, that we are not this body, we are the soul. Many times we theoretically understand it, but Prabhupada was acting on that platform, right? So we should follow Prabhupada. But when Prabhupada is not there anymore in terms of physically guiding us, and we are trying to do things with respect to the time, place, and circumstance that we are in. When we are not at the point where we have realized this, that I am the soul and acting on that platform, how can we be sure that what we are doing is in alignment with Srila Prabhupada?
So, Prabhuji, there is a verse that Nashtra Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nitya Bhagavad Sevya. So this Nitya Bhagavad Sevya, what is this Nitya Bhagavad Sevya? Let me ask you. Yes. So it is recommended by our authority. It's not like we are told that we should read Bhagavatam every day. So this Bhagavatam, what is this Bhagavatam? this Bhagavatam is Krishna, his lotus feet, his different limbs. And this is like making us understand. So who is making us understand Bhagavatam very thoroughly? If you go anywhere else, in any other kind of books of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is different from ISKCON, you would not get these purport there. So these purport are given by Srila Prabhupada. So if we scrutinizingly study Srimad Bhagavatam every day, that means we are touching Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet every day. And it will hammer us if we are going on wrong track. Because this is Krishna. And Krishna is there in our heart. So if something wrong is there in our heart, so he will bring us to the point, like Guru. One time one devotee came to my house and she was telling me that she asked Haldar Maharaj that, I want to make Guru, I want Guru. How should I recognize that who is my Guru? So he said that Guru speaks through your heart. He can touch your heart. Means even one time, one Mataji went to my Guru Maharaj. He said, Maharaj, you are the best. I could not understand others' lecture, but I could understand your lecture. He said, don't say this ever again. Because I am your Guru, so I can touch your heart. Other person is not touching, that means he is not your Guru. Guru can touch our heart. So Paramatma, through Guru, they are touching our heart. And when they see something is happening in our heart, because sometimes we see that some lecture pops us, and it can relate our situation. They speaks through those lectures. They speaks through this Bhagavatam, which is very much by Srila Prabhupada. So by touching this Bhagavatam every day, we are pressing the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. Ki Prabhupada, please tell us, are we on right track?
I have a follow-up. It's nice that over time, this is a fact that Hridyantastoya Bhadrani, over time it clears away. But when that has, I'm asking about the point when it has not cleared away, and we are still conditioned, right? We're looking at things from a certain lens. And my spiritual master says, many people say Prabhupada was very harsh against women in his purports. But he says, when I read the books, he is very harsh against gurus in his purports. Like all of us read the book in a very specific lens that we are in, right? Till the point that we have not gone over it.
Because all these verses are having 7 kind of meanings.
Yeah, unlimited. Prabhupada said one word has unlimited meanings, right? My question is, when we are not there yet, right? When we cannot understand those unlimited meanings, when we cannot understand those 7 meanings, and we are looking at purports from the lens that we are conditioned in, and doing certain things, if I understand right, your clarification is that Krishna from within the heart will tell us if we are doing the right thing. Is that, did I understand that right?
So, did you ask your question?
Yeah, I'm just asking a clarification if I understood it right.
Yeah. So the thing is, I also face these kind of problem because I'm not there still. I'm struggling a lot on my day-to-day basis, moment-to-moment basis. And I keep asking my seniors how to get there. So they say it comes through mercy, by prayers. And I've seen that prayers have a lot of potency. If we have one prayer and if we keep, going for follow-up for those prayers, Krishna will definitely empower us to show us that right track, that we are wrong or we are right. He can give us those approval through these books and lectures. And you must have seen as well. You must have felt as well in your life that through lectures, through books, we can realize all these things.
I was remembering listening to a lecture by Tamal Maharaj in Australia. This was some years ago, and the lecture was obviously many years ago. And there was a conversation around this topic. And Tamal Maharaj was making the point that some devotees will say that Srila Prabhupada's books are their authority. That's where they get their guidance from. And of course, Srila Prabhupada's books are what we all look to. But Tamal Maharaj was raising the point, or kind of asking the question, in a sense of helping devotees to validate that their interpretation of Prabhupada's books is correct, which I think is kind of the point that you're making. And so Tamal Maharaj was putting emphasis on, and if you ask his disciples, they'll tell you he did this very much in his own life, that there need to be peers, or those that are senior to you, that you can go and ask questions to, that can help to validate, are you understanding correctly what you're reading? Or has our mind or our false ego or, many other things diverted what we're doing? And so he was putting a lot of emphasis on having mentors, and then for him having, he had his god brothers that he would go and he would call and ask. And he did this whenever he was doing anything. He would call and speak to, many different devotees and ask them, here's what we're thinking of doing, this is what we're going to do, what do you think? He would get their feedback, get their thoughts to help validate if he was doing the right thing. And then of course, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, right, is what we say all the time, of how we can get validation of if what we're doing is the right thing. If we're lucky to have access to our spiritual master, we can ask him. If not, the devotees, and then of course.
Actually,
Prabhupada's
for
books.
selecting our mentor and guide, we have to be very careful nowadays. Like we should be able to see that they are well versed and they are well connected with Srila Prabhupada, because nowadays it's like so much going on. So we have to be very careful that our mentor, our guide, should be well connected with Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, we would take guidance from about something, and the other person would say something else. So it can confuse us. And well, again, it will come through our intention, whatever is our intention. Okay. Branda Sevi.
I just wanted to say thank you, Shri Kumari, for such
Thank
a
you.
nice class. And in your humility, you're like, what is different between me and Kamsa? I was so stunned. I couldn't even say anything. I'm like, okay, now I have to glorify you every
Krishna.
time I see you, because I mean,
No
in
need,
your
Mataji.
humility, you're like, what is difference between me and Kamsa on the Vyasasana? This is such a beautiful way to present our humility and our attempts, our humble attempts. Thank you for giving nice class.
I'm not qualified for anything, Mataji. Whatever I am saying, I'm true. I know.
Yes, none of us are qualified, but when we take shelter of Guru and Krishna, which you are so beautifully doing, and your sincere, humble attempts is what is inspiring.
Thank you for your encouragement.
Jai. So I just wanted to, if I may add to that point, so Krishna says, right, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya. So scriptures are extension of Krishna's personality, and if Krishna doesn't want to reveal something to you, he will not. To devotees, he will. To the devotees, Krishna will reveal his philosophy, his pastime, his form, everything, his activities. So if, like Mataji said, we constantly pray to Krishna, prayers are so powerful. Why? Because it establishes our relationship, it strengthens the relationship, and we're also realizing that we're also realizing that we are completely dependent on him. So maybe he will right time, he will reveal the answers to the questions that we have. So constant endeavor and mercy, like we all Mataji said. Yeah.
So this limb of devotional service, that Atma Nivedan, it is very powerful actually. All limbs of devotional service are very powerful. I've seen in Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and I always admire how he used to sit in front of Srila Prabhupada and he used to do Atma Nivedan for a long time. He used to tell him his daily whatever he is doing, and he used to talk to him. Srila Prabhupada used to talk to him in whatever way. We don't know about that. So this really makes our relationship strong. Whether he's Kalachandji or Govinda, Gaur Nitai or Srila Prabhupada or our Guru, or with any senior. Okay. Thank you very much. Granth-raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha, Kripa Sindhu Bhaivcha, Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah.